All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the semifinals match, our first semifinals, as we hop into it on Belshare Vestige. Spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, the blue Zerg player. Give it up for Elazer, BlizzCon semifinalist, Ladder Hero semifinalist. Is he always a semifinalist? Is he just gonna get knocked out in the semifinals?
Makes perfect sense to me. And Team Liquid's TLO, our red Zerg player in the upper left-hand side. That's how you introduce a player backwards, by the way, Fear Dragon.
I dig it.
Expert skills.
I also really dig this decal. What is this decal on TLO's hatchery?
Mega. You don't know Mega?
I do not know Mega. Is this a meme that I'm missing out on?
Probably. I don't know Mega either, so your guess is as good as mine. The most exciting thing happening in the world right now, although it does appear as if we are going to have pretty equal timings there, at least when it comes to spawning pools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we end up
and just
having,
about everything.
Yeah, right? Pretty much identical builds from both players, but the fact that not Hatchery first coming out really does go to show you that Belshare Vestige is one of the maps I think we end up seeing a lot of players get a little bit more aggressive on. It's one of the maps that players are getting more into that Ling Bane aggression. You can flood them across the map, and I think it's sometimes difficult to always have your overlords in the perfect position to get a scout out and see when your opponent is about to get hyper aggressive.
Yeah, always great to have that early vision. We saw a perfect indication in our first series of the night, in which it turns out Bly was just a little bit better at knowing when to pour on that early aggression, and Damaga's vision of it was just a little bit behind.
Yeah, 4 Zerglings for TLO try and sneak their way around one of the overlords, but Elazer's on top of it. I believe he got the scat out. Not that it should matter too much, just seeing 4 Zerglings isn't going to be too revealing, but with a slightly faster Baneliness, there is a potential that TLO just takes us out into a straight-up Speedling Baneling all-in and uses these first 4 Zerglings to turn into Banelings and get aggressive.
Yeah, we'll see exactly what they are really used for. A lot of times you can just use your first early Zerglings to just get that map control and try to pinch any extra Zerglings that you can find out on the map. But morphing already into Banelings, this is going to be TLO trying to put that pressure on.
All right, the Zerglings start flooding across the map. Zerglin speed's going to be finishing up relatively shortly for both players, but the funny thing is, they're sitting on relatively even situations. Slightly higher worker count for Elazer, so if he can hold off over here, he will have a nice advantage. But the danger of ZVZ is that when you're the one defending, yeah, you have defender's advantage, but you also might end up losing some drones in the process.
Wait, what?
Oh.
Pretty sure TLO lost a pretty bad Baneling there and then followed up by getting a really good Baneling hit. So overall, fairly even. But if you just look at the army supply, it's going to be a little in TLO's favor.
Yeah, ever so slightly. And he actually ends up droning up behind this. Both these players end up droning up behind this. So at the end of the day, it's always a bit hard to read who's really ahead after the aggression, just because, larva injects pop out at different times. The round of drones will finish up a little bit later. But, ooh, TLO comes in with a couple of Zerglings as the Elazer moves out. Kills off 5 drones. No, 4 drones. 4 drones.
Well, he's actually going in for even more there. Suiciding quite a bit of Lings, and he's actually just going to kill almost every Zergling at that expansion. Every drone at that expansion. Oh my goodness.
Does he have enough to deal with the Elazer's counterattack of Zerglings? The Banelings are around. He's got 2 Banelings that are chasing these Zerglings around, and he's not quite going to be able to kill off most of these Zerglings with the Banelings, but he killed off enough of them and doesn't really take... Okay, he actually takes a little bit of damage, but not really nearly as significant.
Wow, yeah, and even after all of those drone kills, we still do have even drones on both sides, Fear Dragon. So, I mean, it looked pretty devastating, but it was actually a pretty even trade overall.
Yeah, and sort of funny also, because Elazer is pumping out more Zerglings, TLO is pumping out more drones right now. So it really just goes to show you, this is finally the big deviation in their kind of game plans and what they want to do. Elazer is going to continue to pump on aggression. Is TLO going to be able to get the good Baneling connections to actually hold off?
Yeah, also another little deviation here. A little bit of a later third base coming out. We haven't really seen a big telegraph of whether or not one player is going to either tech 2 roaches, but right now the big pressure is on TLO's third.
And TLO is going to end up losing that third, and the drone and a couple of Zerglings are his troubles, but he does get a Zergling run by to the natural expansion once again. trying to pick up a couple more drones. Man, these Zergling run-bys for TLO have been giving some serious value.
Yeah, I've actually just really kind of started to question Elazer, because it's like, well, you know, one run by, you know, fool me once, and then the second time it's, I forget what you're supposed to say there for the analogy. It's like 3 a.m. here, guys, so I'm just gonna blame that.
Well played.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Or I think it's actually the opposite way around.
Fool me thrice, I forget.
Yeah, well, I forgot it during the first time, so no worries there. Either way, TLO has managed to, or did lose his hatchery, so now he has to put on an equal amount of damage. However, unlike Newton's laws, I don't think there's going to be an equal opposite reaction.
Yeah, TLO continues to run in, gets 3 Zerglings, and kills off 2 drones. Like, these are just straight up, undeniably efficient trades for TLO right now. I think there was a Bandling that goes off somewhere and managed to get an okay connection. I think that was one of Elazer's Bandlings killing off some of TLO's Zerglings, because TLO's sitting a little bit lower on that army supply right now, which is a bit worrisome. But I think the bigger worry is right now is that Elazer is starting to get out those roaches, and TLO continuing with that the Bandling Zergling drop aggression.
Yeah, so he is just loaded up that drop overlord. Its ventral sacks have been filled with juicy exploding goodness. It's now going to be dropped sneakily inside Elazer's space. Some Zerglings there to kill off weakened drones, and 2 Banelings as well. Those are what's going to be sent in first. Will they be able to find the connections that they need right into the drone lines? And great connection on the first Baneling. Will he be able to find one on the second? It looks like he does, kind of.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the devastating damage directly from the Banelings, but 6 workers killed, mostly because there was also a Zergling counterattack with the third. Elazer really struggling to spread himself out, especially considering he's gone onto that Roach tech. Roaches aren't exactly great at being in a lot of places at once.
Yeah, and really when there's 3 bases here, there's a lot of places to be in. Roaches, a little bit better, like you said, more larva efficient than Zerglings, but it turns out he's going to be facing off against Roaches of Elazer's as well.
Yeah, the big thing, though, is that TLO has to get damage done over here. He's sitting a bit behind in supply, but it's also about the fact that his third is so much later than Elazer's. The worker count is starting to favor Elazer because of it as well, since he's been mining from that third. And TLO, he's got a couple of units, but the Queen's over here with Transfuse may be a bit hard to break.
Oh man, will he be able to take them down? Less overall as far as army count is concerned, but those transfusions coming in just barely enough to push TLO back.
Yeah, and TLO gets a really good Bandling hit connection on that third expansion mineral line, but unfortunately for him, he can't really follow it up. He had all of his units sort of preoccupied with the actual engagement. Now those drones, they are going to slowly but surely regenerate that health. Bandling run by into the third of TLO. He's not realizing it. Oh my god, there's a drone transfer too. Oh.
Yikes. Well, so much for that drone transfer. Only a couple, I think only 1 drone making it through all of those being sent over. 9 drone casualties. TLO just barely getting his third base up and now losing all the drones that he was sending to saturate it.
I mean, Rapid, he was at least he was going to still be behind on army supply after losing majority of that army earlier, but he would have at least had a head on drone. He would have at least been ahead on drone count, or at a minimum been even, but now he's just going to be behind on both regards. He is straight up behind in this game in almost every regard.
He certainly is, and if you just look at the upgrades, it's +2 missile weapons coming up for TLO right as +1 is about to finish. So that's the only way that I can think of, Fear Dragon, that TLO is at least ahead.
That is true, and that is a nice saving grace as we make it into the later stages of the game, but TLO needs to sit and get up a big enough army for that to matter. And right now, 23 roaches to 41. How good is +2 missile attacks when it's still in production, Rapid?
That would be not very good, Fear Dragon. Not very good at all. And how good is not having as many roaches as your opponent?
GG.
Pretty bad.
Elazer takes game number 1 in the ZVZ semifinals, which, by the way, though, it sounds like we're criticizing TLO a lot, but he did a lot of really cool things in that game, like that Zergling counterattack aggression that he continued to pile on Elazer. Elazer seemed like he was struggling with it, but at some level, Elazer was able to just overcome any of the drone losses he took say, well, I'm killing off some of your Zerglings. I'm not even entirely sure. What was Elazer doing just so much better than TLO besides getting up that 3rd expansion that he was able to get so far ahead?
Yeah, I guess that was actually one of the really big deciding factors, is that TLO did have his 3rd base pressured. Elazer, I guess, recognizing that timing, having more there, whereas TLO's forces were out across the map, losing that 3rd base and then never really recovering after that. So Elazer just got himself into a good position, held on just barely with some sick queen transfuses at his 3rd base, prevented it from going down, kept it up. And from there on out, was able to get some really, really sick value from Baneling hit run bys and cool stuff like that.
Indeed, but we get ready to hop into game number 2. It's going to be on Newkirk Precinct, so oh my god, Rapid, we've made it 2 games into a ZVZ, and it's not on Abyssal Reef. Like, what is happening right now?
I mean, Abyssal Reef is a pretty cool map to watch ZVZ on.
I love that map.
But... yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan as well. But this time we get to see another one of the newer maps. At least they're newer for me, just because I don't get to see these quite as often. My brain's still stuck on Brood War maps from earlier on today, so everything looks super new until I get used to it. But either way, let's go ahead and get into game number 3 by introducing our players.
Game number 2, I believe, right?
Did I say 3? Yeah,
yes.
game number 2.
I'm just making sure I don't have the score wrong. I'm just making sure. But,
no, there's a game that time forgot. Either way, here we go. Our blue Zerg player spawning in the lower right-hand corner. This is Elazer.
Going for that early pool, and his opponent spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. Going for at least a spawning pool first. Give it up for TLO from Team Liquid. And no gas. No gas from TLO.
Just gonna go for that spawning pool, which means that until speed is finished, his Zerglings will be in greater number and just as strong. But once that upgrade does finish, yikes, you're gonna be in a little bit of trouble. Now, natural coming down here will be faster, so that's why you do see such the deviation there in that build. So TLO found out what happened when you're a base ahead of your opponent. He lost that game, so now he's gonna be a base ahead for at least the time being.
Yeah, again, it's exactly like what you were saying. There's going to be that small little window where TLO is going to have a potential to do a really nice job holding things off against the early aggression. But as you said, speed kicks in, things are really going to take a turn for the worse for TLO unless he is incredibly well prepared, unless he's got up queens in the right spot to block off that ramp, unless he's got his drones pulled in the correct position. How is TLO going to respond? He is taking that first gas geyser now, so he doesn't seem like he's going to go for the big double gas, pump out a ton of gas very quickly. Oh god, he's actually moving out across the map.
Yeah, here he goes, the first 6 Zerglings heading on out. But I don't know, it'll be interesting to see the reaction that he gets when he realizes what's coming his way.
Yeah, this is actually really weird, because if you take a look at TLO's scouting, his second Overlord makes its way across the center of the map, so he's not going to scout out any of these Zerglings from Elazer making their way across the map along the top side. So he's going to move it over here. Zerglings are going to scout out no natural. Oh boy.
And at this point, he has to know, whoops, I may be in a little bit of trouble. Those 4 Zerglings going to be morphing into Banelings right now, and they are dangerously close to TLO's base.
Oh god, nice micro from Elazer too. Keeps the majority of his Zerglings alive versus those of TLO. Just getting outmaneuvered, and you can see TLO's in all-out panic mode. He might even have to give up this natural at this point. I mean, I feel like he has to.
Yeah, at this point, you just get out. You know you are at a big disadvantage here. He needs to glitch those drones through by clicking on the minerals, and he will try to get them off to the other side. Those Banelings actually getting picked down by the Queen at the natural. Great defense here by TLO.
Oh my god, he is continuing to hold. The Banelings are going to start to go off on some of these Zerglings, getting some really good connections and taking out the Queens, but Spinecrawler is not going to be able to come up. Gets killed, not canceled. The Queen is going to get surrounded, even though it's in a nice spot. TLO, he's got Zergling speed now started up, but can he actually wait around that long? Would those resources be better invested somewhere else?
Well, the extra larva at the natural, which is traditionally the advantage of having an extra base, are just not going to mean anything at all. Yeah. He's morphing a Baneling right next to the larva. I'm sorry, man, that's not camouflaged, even though they both look pretty similar. And when that Baneling does finish, one gets canceled, but the second one, okay, will actually be used there. So the hold is, quote unquote, I'm Fear Dragon can see that I'm making air quotes right now. Defense is successful, but at what cost?
Yeah, and even though TLO seems like, oh yeah, well, he's kind of holding on, he's getting up a little bit more of an army, his drones were pulled for such a long time, he lost effectively all mining. So this next round of reinforcements is going to be incredibly delayed, and I don't think he can afford to do that, especially with the banelings connecting on these drones. Oh, I think this might be the 2-0 from Elazer.
It's certainly looking that way. There it is, Elazer taking a 2-0 victory over TLO.
Moves on to the grand finals, BlizzCon semifinals, Ladder Heroes finalists. Elazer finally getting his shit together.
Hey, there you go. Moving up in the world, much like myself. Glad to be here witnessing this greatness on Ladder Heroes EU tonight.
Yeah, and really, really awesome to see, because for those who don't know, Elazer is one of the few players who has actually done rather well for himself in Ladder Heroes. As I actually pull up, you can see on the Wikipedia page, Elazer is the only player who has won more than one of the EU Ladder Heroes monthly finals. He's won 2 of them. He's going for the triple, which I guess is like the Golden Mouse Award, but with 1 tournament. So not at all like the Golden Mouse Award, but I like to make it sound cool. I like to compare it to Brood War Bonjois, okay? Because winning 3 Ladder Heroes monthly finals, it's actually pretty cool, because really nobody's even close to him in terms of doing it quite as well for the EU Ladder Heroes monthly finals.
Just to put it in perspective, I guess there, yeah. Not a comparison I would necessarily make, but hey, credit where credit is due. He's pretty good. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how far he goes. Just updating the bracket for myself as Elazer does advance there. Snoot and Soul are battling it out in our other semifinal.
Indeed, and that is going to be starting up almost immediately, so we're going to hop to a very, very short break, maybe just like a 30-second to a minute-long break, and finish up that downtime content that I cut off earlier on. So we'll see you guys in a little bit with our second semifinals.